Today is probably not going to be a long episode, probably going to be keeping it to 8 to 10 minutes. I just want to briefly recap the whole goings-on that's been happening around Trump and abortion and talk about it a little bit and offer my perspective on Trump and Republicans as a whole and how we need to handle the abortion topic in elections, specifically presidential elections going forward. So get ready for some controversy because that's going to happen today on Fight and Revive with Adam Boyer.
America is no longer one nation under God. Are you ready to fight for a revival? Well, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Fight and Revive with Adam Boyer.
I'll be honest, I wasn't sure I was going to get an episode out this week because this Saturday, when I'm filming, we are doing another Southern Gospel concert. You may have seen one I posted on the channel a while back, a stream of it. That's been taken down now. I don't want to step on any copyright toes, so this one will not be streamed publicly. But it was a very good concert last time, and so I'm taking part in another one, opening it to the community. So, as you know, if you've watched the channel, you've not seen it on my YouTube channel, but you've seen it on my Facebook page, and I did an episode that was a Facebook exclusive, and that was ranking Southern Gospel groups. So you know I'm a big fan of Southern Gospel if you've seen that. So we're doing another one of those concerts. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get an episode up, but I wanted to try, and I decided to discuss this topic. And I'll be honest, I'm going to be reading from this NBC article and adding my own comments and talking about some broader issue, I think, but not really scripted here. We're just going to kind of go for it and see what happens. So the article from NBC News, Trump comes out against Florida's abortion rights ballot measure after conservative backlash. The GOP nominee landed in hot water on abortion after criticizing Florida's 6-week ban and initially declining to take a stance on a state ballot measure. State ballot measure is Amendment 4, which would legalize abortion up until, I believe it's 24 weeks. I've heard some differing opinions on it. As a matter of fact, let's just fact check that. So here's what the ballot measure would do. I'm just reading straight from Ballotpedia, Florida Amendment 4 Right to Abortion Initiative. A yes vote supports adding the following language to the Florida Constitution's Declaration of Rights. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider. Amendment 4 would maintain the current constitutional provision that permits a law requiring parents to be notified before a minor can receive an abortion. A no vote opposes that, obviously. And a 60% supermajority vote is required for the approval of the amendment. So that's helpful, at least. It can't just be 50%. So there's a chance this amendment gets defeated. I mean, it's completely radical. You're talking about killing babies pretty much at any point if the healthcare provider deems it necessary. And I say healthcare provider in quotes. I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible thing. It's a sad sign of where this country is going. I'm serious. I'm very passionate about this issue because of that. I mean, it's literally murder. As long as the child's in the womb, they're saying, yeah, it's fine, go ahead and abort it. But if it's out of the womb, then all of a sudden it makes a difference. It's just, there's no logic that follows it. It's just a sign of an evil and decaying society. So hopefully we'll be defeated. There's a decent chance it will pass. As often happens in red states, abortion ballot measures get passed even after and override the legislature's law that have happened in red states. You see that like in Kansas, for example. We'll see if 60% of the vote goes to a yes. If not, then it's defeated, and we've stalled that off for now. And so we'll see what happens. Anyway, the point of this video, though, is not to talk strictly about the merits of the measure, more to talk about Trump's response. Former President Trump came out on Friday against a ballot measure in his home state of Florida that would expand access to abortion after spending a day doing damage control on the issue. His announcement came a day after telling NBC News that Florida's 6-week ban is too short and declined to take a clear stance on a state ballot measure that would expand access to the procedure. And that's true. He was very unclear on that. He's trying to walk the political line of appeasing the pro-lifers while also not firing up the pro-abortion side. It's a political line to walk. We'll get to that in a minute. But he made it sound like he was going to vote for and support Amendment 4. On Friday, Trump said once again that women need, quote, more time than 6 weeks to decide whether to have an abortion, but that the Democrats are radical and he couldn't back the amendment. So I think 6 weeks, you need more time than 6 weeks. I've disagreed with that right from the early primaries when I heard about it. I disagree with it, Trump said in the comments to Fox News. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. So I'll be voting no for that reason. The proposed amendment would bar restrictions on abortion before fetal viability around the 24th week of pregnancy, while ensuring exceptions to protect the health of the mother. Again, the health of the mother, super ambiguous. So, if it's after the 24th week of pregnancy, the mother's life may be jeopardized by allowing the pregnancy to continue. So yes, I as the healthcare provider am going to say we're all good to have an abortion. it's just it's so on your nose, right in your face. It's just like, hey, stop us, we dare you. That's the way the left's tactics work. That's the way they go about doing things. It's like, we're going to shove this right in your face. Conservatives usually try to dance around issues and handle it nicely and handle it real tactfully. The left, their tact is just plow right through. And here you go, 24 weeks of pregnancy. Before that, you can't have a law against it. And even the question of whether or not minors can get one without a parental consent is questionable. And after the 24th week of pregnancy, yeah, you can pass a law against them. But if the healthcare provider says to protect the health of the mother, then we're good to go. Have that abortion at 35 weeks when the baby is fully formed, basically, in the womb. Again, moving on. The backlash from anti-abortion advocates was fierce after Trump's interview with NBC News, as it should have been, with some warning that the Republican presidential nominee was risking losing support from a key bloc of the party's base. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the influential anti-abortion group Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, called Trump on Thursday to ask for clarity on his comments, according to a source with knowledge of the conversation. Dannenfelser told him that it's imperative that you're clear because there's confusion now that you may be in support of this, the source added. She also told him that the amendment is incongruent with his opposition to late-term abortion. During the interview with NBC News, Trump said, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. When asked how he would vote on the ballot measure, it's unclear what he meant, as the Florida initiative gives voters a binary choice. Exactly. Later Thursday, Trump's campaign issued a statement saying the former president had not yet said how he will vote on the ballot initiative in Florida. So we are seeing legitimately, I think Steve Dace point out where it's like, I support the amendment, but I also oppose it because it goes too far, but I'm not exactly sure how I'll vote on it yet. It was the most incongruent thing ever. And Dannenfelser said, it didn't make any sense. Meanwhile, anti-abortion activists, aka pro-life activists, who have provided critical support to Trump during his 3 presidential runs, piled on. Some also criticized his suggestion that he mandate the government or insurance companies pay for in vitro fertilization treatments. Also a problem. Former President Trump now appears determined to undermine his pro-life supporters. Evangelical theologian Albert Mohler wrote on X, and I shared this post of his because it was a great post. He hit the nail on the head, and influential leaders like him, Steve Dace, I think maybe even Laura Clausen, again, Marjorie Dannenfelser. I mean, these are big names. Lila Rose. These are big names in the evangelical / pro-life movement, and that's why I think got the attention of Trump. Mohler continued, his criticism of Florida abortion restrictions and his call for government funding of IVF and his recent statement about reproductive rights seem almost calculated to alienate pro-life voters. This is classic. I'm telling you, this is classic Chris LaCivita. I think, thankfully, he's had to take a step back. Chris LaCivita and Susan Wiles have both had to take a step back. I think Corey Lewandowski is running more of Trump's campaign now, but I think LaCivita and Wiles still have some influence with Trump, and this is classic. Their moves. Try to appeal to the moderate Democrats and the independents and alienate your own base, which just doesn't work, and I'll get to that in a moment. Continuing with the article, some Republicans now fear voter backlash from the majority of Americans who say in polls they want abortion to be mostly or always legal, particularly as Democrats seek to further capitalize on the issue. What NBC fails to mention there is most Americans do not believe late-term abortion should be allowed. They just don't. I don't have any exact numbers on that, but I'm nearly positive I've seen, and common sense would dictate that opposing late-term abortion is a popular position. Unfortunately, opposing all abortion is not, but that doesn't mean we conservatives are still not going to call for that. If our political positions are determined by what is popular, conservatives will never win anything. We're just going to go along with what the Democrats are doing, which is why people like myself, like many others, have to stand on the life begins from conception and not compromise. So the article goes on for quite a while. Taryn Fenske, a spokeswoman for Florida Governor DeSantis, pushed back against Trump's initial comments. Donald Trump has consistently stated that late-term abortions where a baby can feel pain should never be permitted, and he's always stood up for parents' rights. Amendment 4 would allow late-term abortions, eliminate parental consent, and open the door to taxpayer-funded abortions. It's extreme and must be defeated. The governor's wife, Casey DeSantis, also weighed in, saying the initiative would open the door to taxpayer-funded abortions, and added we must spread the word and vote no on 4. So it goes on from there. I want to read real quick some comments from Steve Dace. I mentioned Al Mohler had put some pressure on Trump, Lila Rose, the others. Steve Dace as well was one of them. And he said, pretty soon before Trump made that announcement, He said, in the midst of his campaign's best and most consistently effective stretch since the GOP convention, and right after Kamala Harris reminded everyone she is a nitwit in the friendliest of interview circumstances, interview in quotes, Donald Trump did the following over the course of just a few hours. Said we need more babies, said we need to kill more babies, said he needs more time to determine whether we should kill or save more babies. I have the only Trump yard sign in my entire caucus precinct, but will it stay in my yard or will it go? I need more time to determine whether I will abort it or not. Kidding aside, because the stakes here are very real, prison for Trump and much higher odds, more of us will join him for what we believe. Trump is in serious danger of turning Amendment 4 in his home state of Florida into the 2024 version of Why Didn't He Fire Fauci that cost him and us severely in 2020. He continues on. It is not the job of pro-life forevers on X to completely contort their soul into a pretzel nugget in order to fix this for Trump. It is Trump's job to fix this for the largest and most devoted voting bloc in the Republican Party. He is the leader, and it's time to lead. The responsibility is Trump's and no one else's. History shows the weaker you are in protecting the right to life, the weaker you will be on protecting all of our God-given rights. So it's perfectly reasonable for reasonable people to be concerned. They're not haters, they're not purists, and they're not traitors. And ignore the grifters and paid influencers calling you that. All this is like, I couldn't have said it better myself. They are Americans, and they are well within their rights to want their God-given rights as Americans protected. All Trump has to do is make it clear he opposes the Democrats' abortion amendment in Florida that will allow full-term babies to be executed, providing there's still a pinky toe in the birth canal. That's it, nothing more, nothing less. Opposing abortion with no restrictions is an 80% issue with the American people. Trump is being offered a way lower standard for support than the vow to overturn Roe he made in 2016, and we are thankful he fulfilled. He doesn't even have to be pro-life, for goodness sake, just not be for infanticide. This is what I've been saying. That is all that is being asked of him, something way easier than firing Fauci would have been, and that he is fumbling that mightily at his own and our culture's collective peril. Mr. Trump, tens of millions of Americans have entrusted their futures to you. This is a layup. Take yes for an answer. Step off the rake. Please take the W, then walk away and go beat Kamala Harris. But it's not on you, sir. It's on you, sir, not us. And thankfully, again, Trump did reverse himself. And I just want to say before I go here, it didn't make any sense politically. This is something Republicans cannot get through their thick skulls. I'm dead serious here. I'm not saying life from conception is a popular issue right now, a popular stance to take on the abortion issue, because it's not. But as Steve Deace pointed out, opposing abortion with no restrictions is. Trump does not, and I admit, abortion is a tricky issue, and it's probably not something he needs to be campaigning on, because not only do Republicans generally not perform well on abortion, certainly not the way we're currently campaigning, but also it's like the fourth or fifth most important, or at highest third most important issue to most Americans, depending on the survey. So why are we focusing on that instead of the economy and immigration and crime, things people actually care about? Stop harping on abortion, for one. Number two, going along with stop harping on abortion, just shut up about it. Make it known that you are pro-life. You don't need to get into the specifics, but that you're going to be reasonable in protecting into taking a pro-life circumstance. And I use reasonable in the terms the culture would think of it. Reasonable in that he just says, again, I oppose abortion with no restrictions. It's kind of vague. That's all he needs to do. And then just shut up. Stop being pro-infanticide. Stop saying, like J.D. Vance did in that interview, which I think Vance has done a great job as Trump's vice president pick. But why are you saying we'll veto abortion legislation that comes across our desk? Because for one, you're just ticking off pro-lifers. Number two, it's not going to happen anyway. It's a moot point. That's never going to get through the House and Senate, even if Republicans control it. Republicans will never, in this current climate, will never pass a national abortion ban or restrictions. We could have a supermajority in the House and Senate, which we're not going to have, and then it could come across Trump's desk. It would not come across Trump's desk. He does not need to deal with the issue of, yes, I would veto the legislation. Just shut up about it. Just shut up. That's all I'm saying. Secondly, looking at it from a political perspective, this is not embracing the pro-infanticide movement. It's not helpful. Again, all he has to do is shut up, focus on the other issues. If he does want to focus on abortion don't try to embrace the other side. Inspire your own pro-life base, which is one of the largest movements, pro-lifers, evangelicals, within your base. Inspire them, motivate them to go vote for you in November. That's all you have to do. You have to do that without riling up the other side too much, but you can be firmly pro-life without sounding like a quote-unquote radical who believes in life from conception, which I am one. Again, if I could get a national abortion ban passed on all abortion, including abortion pill, with no exceptions, I absolutely would, because it's the moral thing to do, the moral, godly thing to do. However, regardless, it doesn't make any sense for him, if he's going to talk about abortion, to embrace the pro-infanticide movement. Because what is he gaining? He's demotivating, demoralizing, and ticking off his own pro-life base, significant portions of it, at the risk of gaining the voters who are pro-Trump, but they won't vote for him because he's not pro-abortion enough. I guess those people probably exist in America, but like, what is there, 3 of them in total? You're going to alienate way more of your own base than you're going to bring over independents, moderate Democrats. Inspire your own base and do not rile up the other base as much as possible. Stop trying to appease them. Because if you are someone who votes on abortion, you're going to vote for Kamala Harris. I think Matt Walsh said, you can't out-abortion Kamala Harris. And it's just true. So Trump, Chris LaCivita, Susan Wiles, Corey Lewandowski, shut up. Stop talking about abortion in this election. And if you are going to talk about it, which I'm not saying you shouldn't, I would tend to think in this election, just shut up and talk about the economy. But if you must talk about it, there you go. That's more clear on what I'm trying to get across here. If you must talk about it, be pro-life, inspire your own base. You don't have to get super into the weeds and specific, but be pro-life, inspire your own base, and don't fire up the other side as much as possible. Don't be pro-infanticide or pro-choice, as we call it in this culture. That's not helping you. It's also, I know we don't care about this anymore, but not only is it politically wrong, it's morally wrong as well. So thankfully, Trump has come out, reversed his position on Amendment 4. We better hope and pray that Amendment 4 is defeated in Florida. May the good Lord direct the hearts and minds of Florida voters, at least less than 60% of them, to vote yes on it. May it be defeated, and may we have a lot more babies being saved of it. Meanwhile, saved because it's being defeated, and Florida's, going too fast here, abortion's 6-week abortion ban stays into effect. Meanwhile, we conservatives, I'm not saying those like Trump running for office in a presidential election year, but we grassroots conservatives must continue to push for a total abortion ban. Life begins at conception is the only logical, moral, godly conclusion to take on the issue. So we must continue to do that, and we must continue to drag the culture back in the other direction of sanity. We don't allow, we look back and say, child sacrifices in the ancient Aztecs, wow, they were brutal. What a primitive society. Wow, in the U.S., we used to allow slavery. We used to allow lobotomies. And wow, that's so backwards and twisted and old-fashioned, and that's just completely wrong. I think at some point, now, maybe society's just going to get worse from here on out, and we won't ever, but if we ever have any semblance of a reasonable society again, we're going to look back at this time in history and say we cannot believe we were arguing over 6 or 24 weeks for abortion, because life begins at conception. That's my stance, and I'm going to shut up now because I've already talked plenty long. I've said enough controversial stuff. This has not been a short episode, but here we are. Let me know what you think. I hope I was clear enough on that topic. Like I said, I was going pretty much off the cuff, off the top of my head. So let me know what you think. I know this has been controversial, but this is the position I take. I promise you the most conservative commentary online, and I feel as though, at least today, I have delivered. In the words of our great president, look here, Jack. I'll challenge you to push-ups, but that's neither here nor there. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fight and Revive YouTube channel and help us reach more people with our conservative message.